This is the Art of Network Engineering podcast. In this podcast, we'll explore tools, technologies, and talented people. We aim to bring you information that will expand your skill sets and toolbox and share the stories of fellow network engineers. Welcome to the Art of Network Engineering. I am AJ Murray at No Blinky Blinky. And tonight I am joined by none other than Dan. Dan, how are you, Dan?
Howdy, AJ. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Real well. What's new in Dan's world?
Well, we recorded an episode 2 nights ago, and I was talking about the trampoline place. But since then, nothing really new has happened, so nothing crazy.
The trampoline place?
Yeah.
Oh, like a trampoline park?
Yeah, well, it's okay. So it's like this indoor trampoline, just massive trampoline, right? Like it's not like one big trampoline, but it's a bunch of smaller trampolines, but in one big area, right? And we took
around here. They call that get air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a chain.
I can't remember what this one was called, but it's something like that, right? And we took the kid to it, and I was telling my wife that if we had one of these closer to where we live, I could go to the gym and play with my kid at the exact same time, because it was
like workout.
Yeah. It was just like talk about your core and your legs and stuff. It was definitely a workout, but
nice.
But I don't have anything new since then. So
awesome.
Well, it was 2 nights ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Lexi, how are you?
I'm great. Doing real well. Thanks. Sorry.
All right. See you later, Lexi.
While you were talking to Dan, I was like, what is new in my life? I'll tell you about the saga, the problem that I'm dealing with in my personal life right now. Because everybody wants to hear this, right? No. I'm trying to get hummingbirds to come to my house, and I can't get them to come to my house.
What are you putting out?
It's been tough. A hummingbird feeder with with pre-made hummingbird food in it, right? Because I'm hearing that like you're not supposed to actually give them sugar water. It's not as healthy. So okay, I thought I'm gonna go get this pre-made hummingbird like mix and put it in there, and it's a red like mix, and the feeder's red, and so I figured like, okay, red, that's supposed to be what attracts hummingbirds. And there's this house like block from me that has like 80 hummingbirds just hanging out outside of it all the time. I'm serious.
What?
It is a tree full of hummingbirds. I'm not kidding. It's wild. And the little fuckers will not come to my house. I'm so upset about it. I tweeted about it. I got attacked a little bit for like not planting native bushes, and it's like I rent this house. I can't plant stuff that's not supposed to be in the flower bed. So I'm trying my best. I'm very upset about it. So what's going on with me?
So could you?
I hear I've been in that position. Where, like we had a hummingbird feeder for like a summer on our back deck, and we attracted way more ants than we ever did. I think I saw maybe one hummingbird.
Yeah.
What is it about some places, some houses, some feeders? They get all the hummingbirds.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Their sugar water brings the hummingbirds to the yard.
None of that was awesome. Wrong. Yeah, that's correct.
Oh my God.
That was bad.
So,
that's great.
I wish Tim was here. He would have appreciated that.
Oh, man. That was good.
So that's my life. Anyway. Good. How are you, AJ? What's going on? Any cool critters in your yard?
No, not lately. No, it's like teasing like it wants to warm up around here. Today was a beautiful day, but we're supposed to get like completely dumped on snow this weekend, like a foot. So yeah, that's the hell I'm in right now. I really want spring to be here, but winter's still here.
What temperature is it there right now?
Today it was 41. At this particular moment, it is 30 degrees.
I'm not much better than you.
Outside moving.
Yeah. We're still pretty cold over here.
Oh, yeah.
It's gross. I hate it.
Is it snowing out there? Does it snow?
No.
Or is it just raining?
It does snow here.
Out there?
It does snow every once in a while. We actually got like a number of inches, more than I'm used to. Oh. Which is not saying much, but yeah.
Certainly coming from Texas, I'm sure, yeah.
Well, you know what? There's parts of Texas that do get snow, sort of on the rig, but not where I'm from. So anyway, good luck with your snowstorm. I'm sorry.
Just a little bit longer. It'll all be
Hang
over.
in there. Yeah.
I think we're supposed to be getting some of that too after it hits you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tennessee is like, you know, directly in the path of Vermont. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Tennessee also, you can also get like, you know, 4 seasons within a week. So there's that too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It happens in Vermont too.
Yeah. It's just kind of weird like that.
All right. Well, I think we'll cut to some wins. And then after that, we'll talk to our guest. And now it's time for some wins. Winning in our Discord channel this week is Jared Muck. Jared got a promotion to Network Engineer 2. Freeman Ed Tech passed the Aruba ClearPass Associate. The EOC passed the Palo Alto Network micro-credential for remote user administration. Congratulations. Charlie O'Riordan is joining Aviatrix as a senior network architect. Congratulations, Charlie. Doopsy passed the CCNA. Huge congratulations. HMMV3 passed the NRC exam. That's a tough one. Congrats. Jeffrey passed the DC Core exam. That's huge. Congratulations, Jeffrey. And Robin C. passed the CISA, the Cybersecurity Specialist exam from CompTIA. Congratulations, Robin. New Patreons joining us this week is JP Williams, Josh Lopez, and Stefan K. Thank you so much for your support of what we do here at the Art of Network Engineering podcast. Now, back to the show. All right, I am excited to welcome back to the show Jordan Villareal. And I say welcome back. And if you're a faithful listener of the podcast, you probably are like, what are you talking about, AJ? We've never heard that name. Well, unfortunately, Jordan's episode was one that never came to fruition because we had problems with our recording platform. So we're going to record the episode again for the first time. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, AJ. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, that was rough losing that. We had so much fun recording it and it just vanished.
I was not a part of the original recording, and I heard nothing but huge praise to you from the co-host and everybody from the audience. And they were like, Jordan's episode was awesome. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to edit it. And then I tried to pull down the files and it's like, well, that's funny. Like everybody else has like 2 hours worth of content, but Jordan has like 11 minutes. Mm-hmm. What happened?
Yeah. I worked with them like directly in a live call with the Riverside tech support. And by the end of the call, I could see it on his face and it just seemed like he didn't want to say it. So he emailed it afterwards. Well, let me look at the logs. And then like an hour later, sorry, there's nothing else. Like, oh, all right. Thanks for trying.
Well, they are going to get the bill that Jordan sent us for having to come on the show again and spare his valuable time with us. So
it's double my hourly rate. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Jordan, let's start off with what do you do today? Where do you work? What do you do?
So the first time I recorded this episode was the day that I had accepted a new role. It was literally like maybe 8 hours after I accepted the position. Oh my gosh. But now I am. So it would have been fun to announce it, on that day. Thank you, Riverside. So I am now the technical advocate for Netbox at NS1.
Very cool.
And I've been at it for 2 weeks now.
So how's the 2 weeks been?
Technical advocate.
It's been interesting. There's the phrase that's drinking through a fire hose.
I'm familiar.
I feel you.
definitely in that stage. And it's a brand new position. So it's not like I was backfilling someone. This is a new role. So it's not super well defined just yet. And we're kind of getting the right fit and feel for it. And that'll take some time. But that's my title. That's where I'm at. And I mean, hey, 2 weeks, I'm still coming back for more.
But now you were a Netbox user before this, right? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. I'd been a Netbox user for about 3, maybe 4 years. Okay. And it kind of got to a point where I was even making videos just in my own spare time for things that you can do with Netbox. Well, actually more on the setup side than the functionality side, because I realize I'm not super strong at Linux, but I really wanted to learn how to use Netbox so that I could use it in my environment. So I set out to make the videos as more as a reminder for myself, like, how did I configure this application? How do I do upgrades? And then, I mean, other people watch the videos, and I think that may have helped me a bit because community engagement is definitely going to be part of this role.
Nice.
So I was kind of already doing it, and now I'm kind of getting paid to do it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it so far.
So Jordan,
just 2 weeks.
I have to mention this because I feel like I've hit a point in my blogging career. I too write blog articles, not only for the community, but for myself, because I suffer from the syndrome known as can't remember shit. And
yeah, it's a real thing.
I Googled something the other day. I was trying to remember how to do something, and I found my own article.
Nice. How's that feel?
I was like, hey, this is really, oh shit, that's me. Why am I Googling this?
I suffer from this thing that I have no other way to describe it other than lightning hands.
Lightning. Okay.
So when I sneeze, cool. I get pain that runs down my shoulders to my palms of my hands.
You should probably get that looked at.
I have, and doctors are like, "Oh, you're just built differently."
Lightning fingers,
lightning hands.
Yeah, I was wrong calling it lightning hands.
Yeah,
jazz fingers or spirit fingers. Jazz hands. So I tried Googling it, kind of like within the past 2 or 3 years. Like somebody else has to have this, and I found an entry. I'm like, oh my god, this guy called it lightning hands. And then I looked closer, and it was me from like 15 years ago at some random medical blog. Like, nope, just you, man. You're the only one with lightning hands.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
On the bright side, it sounds like you have a superpower if you don't explain what it is. So,
or
just gotta figure it out how to use
your Sith Lord.
Both very cool.
It's kind of a superpower.
I would consider it a superpower.
When I sneeze, you twist it a little bit. When I sneeze, I shoot lightning out of my fingers, and you're like, ah.
Well, that took a hard left.
All right. Yeah, I drove off a little bit. Sorry about that.
Hey, y'all. It's Lexi, a.k.a. Track It Pacer, or as my most recent burner account hater described me, quote, she can't configure a switch for shit. I'm really sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the podcast, but I have a cool story to tell you, and it'll only take a minute, and then we'll get back to the show, okay? So I come from a NOC background. I started out in a NOC, and the most annoying thing that would happen back then is when a user would come in complaining about a problem, blaming the network, but our network monitoring system was showing zero signs that anything was wrong, and suspend your disbelief for just a moment, and we're assuming that the network actually is at fault, okay? Sadly, most network monitoring software really only pings devices and shows you utilization on maybe a few interfaces, but overall, this doesn't really help us in the end. What if you knew everything that your network equipment knows? Like everything. PathSolutions actually has a product that does this, and it's called TotalView. It provides automated root cause troubleshooting of the entire network. I'm talking monitoring every interface on every switch, router, gateway, and firewall. It also goes deep, collecting performance data, 19 different error counters, QoS, CDP, LLDP, and PoE on every interface, the whole kit and caboodle. TotalView is also smart. It has a built-in heuristics engine that analyzes the information to provide you, the user, with plain English root cause resolutions to problems that other NMS systems really wouldn't even be aware of. You're responsible for the entire network, right? So shouldn't you have visibility that matches your responsibility? Visit PathSolutions.com today to learn more about TotalView and get total network visibility on your network. Now back to the show.
We all did.
Jordan, let's talk about how you got into IT and networking.
So I started in technology at a really young age, about 5. And to
You've been
kind
working
of frame...
since you were... No, I'm just kidding.
No, well, I've been working with technology since I was about 5. So to frame that, that had been about 1986. And we had a Commodore 64. And it was, and it was something that my grandparents had. So my parents got divorced. We moved in with my grandparents, and my grandfather worked for, I think at the time it was Indiana Bell, before all the Bells became AT&T and split up and everything. But he always had some form of technology in the house that he got from work somehow. And that happened to be a Commodore 64. So that was my real first exposure to tech when I was 5.
Nice. And did you do you remember doing anything fun on the Commodore 64 that triggered your desire to work in tech?
I wouldn't say triggered my desire, but it definitely sparked the interest.
Sure.
It had a book where you could do, there were some programs, just basic programs, like 10, go to 20, 20, print, whatever, 30, and just some real basic programs. And I tinkered with it. And I mean, I don't know if you can call that programming when you're just typing what's in the book, but that's definitely where it started. And then it progressed to me taking toys apart and not being able to put them back together. Got a little keyboard for Christmas that came apart Christmas Day and was dead by New Year's.
Yeah. Nice.
So nice. Young age.
Very cool.
You know, that triggered something in back in high school. Those, what were they called? The T81, T82, or T85s.
The calculators.
T80 something.
Yeah, TI-80, whatever how old you were at that point, but they used to have a function on there where you could do some basic programming, right? And so when you were if whatever jumped to line 20, all that, I remember doing some of that stuff, messing around with those things.
Me too, actually. I hadn't thought about that in years.
Yeah, same here. But when he said that, I was like, hey, wait a second. I used to do stuff on calculators like that.
But did you guys have games on your calculators?
Yeah.
Were they kind of passed around? You pay someone $5 and they'll load all the games onto your calculator?
Well, I didn't pay anybody, but
I went to my school.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember, did you have to put it on a card somehow, or was there a USB link that you could hook them together? Or I'm trying to remember how you would get that on there.
I think it was a cable, but it wasn't USB. It may have been an audio cable or some proprietary cable.
I can't remember.
I do not remember. Yeah.
All right. Well, you got bit by the tech bug at 5, playing with a Commodore 64. So from there, did you do tech clubs at school? Did you do a CCNA academy in high school or college?
So there wasn't a whole lot. You got to remember I'm late 80s, mid 90s or early 90s here. And there just wasn't a whole lot in Northwest Indiana in terms of tech.
Oh, sure. I can see that.
Yeah.
Indiana.
I had, you're right. I had computers though, all through elementary school. We had the green screen Macs that you'd play Oregon Trail and Number Munchers and all that stuff. So I got to keep progressing with technology as I got older. But by the time I got to high school, the basic there's some basic programming classes. I think they were C. And we did all of the programming on basically grid paper.
Oh, okay.
And then we would turn it in and our teacher would say, okay, that compiled.
You didn't even get to see it compile?
So we did have computers, so we would still like get to actually compile code, but the tests were on paper, which I don't know why you would do it that way. But the paper was specifically for this. It was specifically for writing programs. It's not like it was just grid paper. So it must have been something somewhere else other than my high school. But that's when I at least started getting into kind of more advanced in what I was doing with computers.
That wasn't like a punch card thing, right? Like I've seen those before.
Mm-mm. It wasn't punch card. It was a stack of paper, and you do your programming on it, rip it off, and put your name on it, and turn it in.
Huh, okay.
Maybe it's just to make sure you memorize, the syntax properly, right?
And
I think that's what it was, but it's still
punishing. It's a punishing way to do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Chris said, "What year was this?"
1995 or 6.
Oh, 96 when the N64 came out, right?
All right.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. But I mean, high school was where I started having more fun with technology. It's where I got into networking.
Okay.
I had a buddy who wanted to play Quake, and I also wanted to play Quake. And we didn't have Ethernet cards in our machine. So it's like, well, it says connectivity, COM, LPT. Like, well, I know LPT is printer. Mm-hmm. So we got a null printer cable between our two machines, enabled IPX SPX, and was able to play Quake across a serial printer cable.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
So that was my first intro to networking. And then from that point, more or less, I was down the networking path.
Did you say that was a direct connect to both machines there? Okay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you're old enough to remember the cables, they're those big, like 25 pin serial cables.
That's
wild.
Yeah. DB25.
Mm.
That's wild.
And even in high school like that, but then I didn't necessarily get mischievous on the computer networks at the school, but most of the issues were blamed on me no matter what. It kind of got to the point where in my computer classes, I was helping the teacher teach some of the stuff. She'd ask, the teacher would come to the back and ask me, like, how do you do this? How do you do that again? Like, you're the teacher, you go teach.
Teacher.
It boiled over when I decided to see if I could eat up all of the hard drive space on the Novell server, the Novell file server.
Oh, gosh.
All formats.
I mean, I wasn't mischievous or anything, but
it was successful. And they said, you do this again, and we're pulling you out of every computer class. You won't be able to take any more computer classes.
Oh, like, okay.
I'll be done.
What was the thing in XP where you could send a message to another XP machine? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wasn't it NetSend?
Yes, I think that's it. And it would pop up on your desktop. It looked like an error message or something like that. But you can make it say whatever you wanted to, right? And so that's what I used to do is because all the computers in the class, they had or in our computer room or whatever, they had on the tower, they had their IP addresses. Now, why they did that, I really don't know. But and so all you had to do is go find the IP address, and then you could see if you could ping it, which they were all on the same network. And I'm pretty positive there weren't any firewalls or anything like that in the middle of them. But it was. I don't know if any other versions did that, but I think it was XP that we were on. And so I would type in like stupid error messages like whatever's corrupt, and then the teacher would be like, "Huh, what's going on here?" And I don't know why, but that was kind of my
voices are fun.
Yeah. So
that's great. That's great. All right, Jordan. So after high school, on to college for the IT degree, or jumping right into an IT job?
So my first IT job actually came while I was still in high school.
Oh,
so I think I was
my
still in high
apologies
school.
for presuming.
Oh yeah, I know it's an easy mistake to make. So my mom was she wasn't a full professor. I think they call it like a guest professor at Purdue University, teaching IT stuff. She did like Office Suite, Word, Excel, things like that. But they had a job board down at the campus that was, hey, looking for students to do this, do that, odd jobs, things like that. And there was a technology board. And I was kind of contemplating web design at the time. So she found someone who was like, hey, there's a local company. They're looking for a student to design a website, and they'll pay you. But, you know, hey, it might be something to let's see if you like it. I'm like, okay, Mom, let's see if I like it. So we go to visit them at their office, give my air quotes office, which was really just their house. I'm like, okay, so my mom and I go inside, and it's two guys, and they're immediately confused because they talked to my mom, and she said, my son is a student and he would like to get into web design. They were probably expecting a college student. They weren't expecting a high school student. So we're already off to a good start. And then the guys kind of get a little nervous, a little shifty. They're looking back and forth at each other. And they go, okay, so we want you to design a website for our products. Okay, that's fine. So you're selling things. I can't set up an e-commerce thing, but I can showcase your products. And I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. We sell adult products.
Oh no.
So I'm sitting there, 15 with my mom, and like, well, okay. And they're like, it's not too bad. And it was like lingerie and corsets and fishnet stockings and stuff. They're like, well, we want our stuff on the website, like pictures. And so this is 1995. You can't just jump to Google Images and find the pictures of things. So here's our catalog for you to take home and scan get the pictures for the website.
I love
it. And your mom was like, okay, cool. Huh?
She just went with it.
That's awesome.
She didn't seem to mind.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out to Mom.
I got through it.
Yeah. Oh, that's epic.
Yeah. Mom is all right. Yeah, so we went through a couple revisions of the website, and they're like, this is a bit amateurish, and honestly, it was. I mean, I was 15. I was using Microsoft Front Page, the WYSIWYG editor.
Yeah.
So I mean, we went through a couple iterations, and they eventually wanted to like really get into the e-commerce, so that you could at least, even do basic form submits were a little bit above my pay grade. So we eventually parted ways, but that was my in earnest first job in IT.
That is
amazing.
Great.
I love it, dude.
Great.
More than one education was had from that experience.
Mom, what's this?
Well, what was your second?
I don't remember.
What was your second job in IT?
It wasn't as fun. It wasn't nearly.
I wasn't expecting you to top it.
No. So I mean, I guess my second job in IT was probably like sales associate as Best Buy. I think you could kind of count that. Sure. I sold computers. I aspired to be in the geek squad, but it never came to be. But out of high school, I didn't go straight into college. Tried to go the certification route. So now I'm up to 2000, and Mom again from the board at school pulls down a flyer for a local tech school that's offering CCNA classes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I kind of already know that I like networking. There was no, at least in my school, there wasn't the NetAcad program or anything like that. So I went to, basically it was night school for, I think maybe a year and a half to get my CCNA. And eventually got it, but wasn't really able to do anything with it because I was 19, 20 without any form of resume, just a kid that graduated high school and this certification. Mm-hmm. So I had nothing real world to back it up, and no one would have me, which I understand.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
So while I was doing that, I was basically a PC bench tech for a couple local businesses. Eventually, one of those businesses wanted to hire someone full time. So that was 2004-ish, and I became a one-man IT shop for a small healthcare provider on the east side of Chicago. So 3 clinics, nothing too big, but that was my first post-high school job in IT.
So how was it being the solo IT person at a clinic like that?
It was tough. Because it was 3 clinics and they were relatively close to each other, but it was madness at times. There was no form of, like help desk or anything. Mm-hmm. So I put in the first electronic ticketing system where end users could put their own tickets in, and at least they were tracked at that point. It wasn't a series of emails. But at some point I asked for $3,000 to implement spam filtering, and they said that was too much money. I said, okay, well then this isn't going to work long term, because if you can't spend a couple $1,000s to cut down on this monumental problem that everyone's complaining about, then this is going to be tough long term. Mm-hmm. And that started looking from there.
How long were you
at that spot though?
It's about a year.
I think we all just asked the exact same question. And together.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Great mindset.
I saw more local hospital group had some positions open. They had a network engineer position. I applied for that. They turned me down. A couple months later, they had a desktop position open. Applied for that, got that. And then after about 6 months on desktop, that network position that I originally had applied for, they had fired that guy and opened up a position that I was able to promote over to.
Nice. Yeah. All worked out.
And that was 2006, around there.
Okay. All right. And how long did you work at the hospital?
The first time I worked at the hospital was about 7 years.
Oh,
the first
time.
The first
time. Someone's telling a story. Yeah. So from there, it was 3 hospitals, a decent sized network. We had a wireless microwave long haul connections that were fun to work with, like big old towers with the red blinking lights and huge dishes pointing at each other. That was some fun stuff. But we started out with Hewlett Packard switches. I'm trying to remember. We had the old CSU, DSU banks for our site-to-site connections over ISDN lines.
I don't know what that is.
Or T1 lines. Sorry, T1 lines. Yeah. So I got to really grow with networking to a point where, we got the network up. We took the network from standalone access points, the autonomous to lightweights.
Golly, wasn't that like an awesome change right there?
Oh, it was so nice. I mean, because our largest hospital had maybe 50 access points in it, and we had to monitor all 50 of them, configure all 50 of them. Like the hospital only had 20 switches, and we had more access points. It's like that's so much. And then when we got our first controllers, the WISMs that slid into the 6509s, they were a blade. It changed everything overnight. It made managing wireless so much easier.
Yeah, I remember when we upgraded to a controller, and it was just like, what's that meme? I was like, man, this is so much better.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that it ever used to be individual access points. And now it's kind of getting that way with switching technology. Like when you start looking at DNA center and automation, like, well, you no longer really control the individual things.
Right.
You control this brain, and this brain does the magic on the thing. So that was pretty ahead of the game at that point. And I think we're seeing, the rest of the industry catch up with that.
Very true. Very true. So if I remember correctly here, you just said you worked for the hospital for the first time. So where'd you go in between before you went back to the hospital?
In between, I went to a national licensure organization. Every nurse in the United States has to pass a single, there's other requirements, but there's a test that they all have to pass. It's the organization that owns that test.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The Pearson.
Right.
So I was,
or something.
Actually, they Pearson actually proctors the exam. They just write the questions. Of course they do.
Interesting.
So at that point, I was a more senior type position, managing the network. We had colo space, managing the colo site. Got me a little bit more exposure to UCS, VMware. Man, I'm umming and erring a lot tonight. This is because I was put on the spot. I just want to put that out there. My first episode had no ums in it.
Well, it's okay. We won't edit them out. Yeah. So. Takes way too long to do that.
They'll be recorded. So
Excellent. I'll have to do a count by the end. So it did that for about 3 years. And the most difficult part about that job for me was that it was downtown Chicago.
Oh,
and
geez.
I'm Northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're still technically a Chicago suburb, but still it's.
How far was the
3 hours?
Oh my God.
3 hours?
I mean, not one way. 3 hours a day.
Yeah, but still.
About an hour and a half.
Still, an hour and a half away is still considered a suburb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is when you're in dead stop traffic.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I see what you're saying. Well,
yeah, on a Sunday afternoon, I can get downtown Chicago in 30 minutes.
Oh, no
Okay.
kidding. Okay.
so did they not have like a train option or something like that?
That was taking the train.
That was taking the train? Oh
Yes,
my
it
gosh.
was. So I don't know what trains are like where y'all live.
What trains?
But
Non-existent.
we don't have them.
No.
I feel blessed that we even have a train option because, I mean, it's public transit in the United States. It's one train and it runs a very specific schedule. They've got one track and it's a 20-minute drive to the train, then a 50-some minute train ride in, then the walk to my office. And that's assuming that there's no problems with the train, that there's not a breakdown, because it is a single track coming out of Indiana. And then when you get into Illinois, there's tons of tracks, but just getting out of Indiana could I don't know, just be a burden for that train
I
sometimes.
believe like 2 hours before you had to be at work, at least.
About that.
Oh my God.
Nope.
Wow. No.
And while I was working downtown, that's when we had our son, and it just got to a point where I didn't feel like making that commute anymore.
Yeah.
So I started looking for something a little bit more locally. And wouldn't you know it, the hospital was hiring a network engineer level 2 position.
Wouldn't you know?
Serendipitous.
Wouldn't you know? So I went back to there as a level 2 network engineer. And basically all that meant was they paid me a little bit more. The projects that I didn't like before I left were still waiting for me when I came back.
How long were you gone for?
Yeah.
Were we talking like months, years?
3.5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So in
that's a decent stretch.
Yeah. So in 3.5 years, though, the projects that you left were still like left in limbo, basically.
So in 2007, my first go around with the hospital, I let in on a dirty secret that I knew how to hook up a VCR. And because I knew how to hook up a VCR, I became in charge of the hospital's entire video conferencing setup.
Oh
Nice.
my gosh.
And it started with, we got this little Polycom thing. It's got these things on here. Can you hook that up? Sure. I can even write the firewall rules to let it through. And then it went out of control and no one else really owned it. I was a network engineer. I was in the network engineering team. The rest of the network engineers didn't want to take over this AV stuff. So it sort of sat there for the 3.5 years that I was gone. No one touched it. And when I came back in, they said, oh, goody, we're ready to refresh video conferencing.
Guys, he's back. Jordan's back. He's back.
We got a guy.
Our AV guy came
So
back.
that was my first project. Yeah.
So that's how you became an AV guy.
Yeah, I got a light AV background.
Hey A1 fans, AJ here for NetAlly. Never heard of NetAlly? Sure you have. They came from the same group of engineers that brought us network tools from Fluke Networks, NetScout, and now they're NetAlly. They know networking. I'm a network engineer for a partner, and when I go to customers and see they use NetAlly, I know it's going to be so much easier to troubleshoot issues we might run into. The name may have changed to NetAlly, but the way they build tools hasn't changed a bit. They ask, what would a network engineer want to help make their job faster and easier, and then they go build it, just like this Etherscope NXG. NetAlly is here to help. NetAlly, simplicity, visibility, collaboration. Visit netally.com today. Now back to the show. So I think this is kind of common for, at least I've heard about this a lot, right? Like people work at one place, they leave for a little bit, and then they go back. So when you were working there the first time, what made you consider leaving, and ultimately why did you leave? Was it just you were looking for a seniority kind of thing? You wanted more challenging, something different?
I would say seniority and challenge really came into it. Man, more ums. I was really looking to cut my teeth in a different environment. That was the only network that I had ever worked in formally at that point, the things that just weren't tinkering. And I wanted to get a little bit more of a challenge, and stepping up into a more senior position definitely offered me that challenge.
Sure. And then
that's what drew me out. I knew a few people that were working there too. So that definitely helped stepping in over there.
Yeah.
But that's what I was really looking for.
And then ultimately, what drove the decision to go back as opposed to like looking for work elsewhere?
Well, I know you said the drive was one, but was there anything else? Why back to that specific, place?
So Northwest Indiana is not really a hotbed for technology. We have a lot of steel. We have a lot of healthcare, and we have a lot of fast food. I mean, there's that song, "There's More Than Corn in Indiana." Those are the other three things. And I guess the Indy 500. But. So, yeah, it was, I started looking around the city initially, but it became, and this was well before remote work was an established thing.
Sure.
So, if I was going to get another job downtown, it was going to be full time. Maybe I could find something on the south side of Chicago that was a little bit easier to get into. But I didn't know when another network engineer position was going to pop up in Northwest Indiana. It was an organization I was familiar with, designs I already knew. I said, all right, let's do this. I'm getting a bump in pay. I'm getting a bump in title. That should come with a bump in responsibility and challenge. So yeah, let's go ahead and head on back.
Nice. Okay.
What's the saying? The devil you know.
Yeah, versus the devil you don't.
Yeah, for sure.
So I kind of skipped over my entire college career in this process. So I didn't start college out of high school. I did start college in 2004 when I was at the one-man IT shop. And said, if someone's really going to take me seriously, I've got to put a degree behind this. So it took me, I believe it was 9 years to finish my bachelor's. I finished it while I was downtown at the licensure place. And I don't know. I just wanted to fit that in there because I did end up going back to college.
What was your degree in?
IT. I know that's. I don't know exactly what the program was called, but they didn't break it down by like a programming track or a systems administration. You were just basically kind of technology, and then you could pick little focuses in there. But it was information technology systems.
That's cool.
I think.
It seems like degrees like that tend to like give you like a taste of everything, which seems very useful to me, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it absolutely was. And kind of the cool part about it is I was already working in industry. So I could sort of offer that real world counterpart to that academia painting that they put on the wall. Well, that's not really how that works. This isn't really how project management works when you're at a company.
Correcting the instructors? Like, no, actually, it doesn't work that way.
No, actually.
We all love that guy in class.
No, that was not me. But it was interesting because since it did take me 9 years, there were so many graduating classes that I was, not part of, but typically, you go into college with the people that you graduate with. And there were people just graduating above and beyond. I had so many different friend groups and peer groups throughout that period, just because I was going at half pace and everyone else was going full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you made a lot of friends then, huh? Got a big network? Yeah.
A couple. Quite a few that I still talk to this day.
That's awesome. Yeah. Take it at your own pace. Why not? That's great. I can't imagine working and doing that. So, at all. So, props.
It's the best that I could do working full time was just take evening classes and take it as I could.
That's awesome. Whatever way you got it done. That's great.
So how much longer did you work at the hospital?
It was about another 3 years.
Okay. And
then I started to get that itch of, I want to do a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. That growth mindset.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I was at the licensure place, I was senior, but in reality, it was a pretty small network. Mm-hmm. It was really 2 offices, a small data center, and the Cola was a small one. And there's actually on my YouTube channel, I have a video, I think it has 1.8 million views of me recabling that data center.
No way. I want to see.
It's a 20-minute time-lapse video that people like to watch of me recabling and pulling out old switches and putting in new switches.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and
we'll put that in the show notes.
If I recall, you're wearing like dress clothes during this, right?
Yeah. That was the office attire.
Like what? On days like where I work, we have business casual or whatever they call it, dress casual or whatnot. But when we come in to do work like that, our manager always basically like, hey, y'all can wear jeans and t-shirts and stuff because you're not going to be out in the building, right? You're going to be down in the dark server room in the corner, in the holding ground, basically. And you're going to be like on the floor, you're going to be on ladders and that kind of stuff. So we always get that like manager's approval of we don't have to wear dress clothes. But when I watched that video, Jordan, I got cracked up because I was like, you almost had a tie on, basically. Like you're down there recabling all that junk and you're dressed in like full business clothes.
Yeah, it was even in the climate controlled data center. It was still a little warm outside.
You're like, I'm gonna go sell a car after this, guys. Like
nice.
Yeah, so that I just want to put it in terms of the size of the environment. So even though I had been sort of seniored, it wasn't senior of a whole lot. I was senior of a molehill. So one evening at the hospital doing these, we were doing ice upgrades, going from 2.2 to 2.3, or it might have been a patch or whatever. And just so many nights of doing them over and over, I just got frustrated and started looking at jobs. And I saw a company on the south side of Chicago called Panduit that was hiring for a senior network engineer.
Oh, Panduit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I think a few of us have heard of that name before.
I would think a couple people have. So I had initially applied and they turned me down and didn't really give me an explanation for why. But then 2-3 months later, I got an email out of the blue saying that my application was now under consideration. And it turned out that they were initially looking for someone who was more architect-y. And those sorts of people didn't want to get physical with the hardware. Like, they didn't want to be hands-on. So then they came back to me and I ultimately accepted. And that's where I was.
Nice. How long were you there for?
Got pretty close to 4 years.
Gotcha.
So my team was the general data team. So we handled switching, wireless, routing, firewalls. Voice was under us. Just basically kind of like your bread and butter networking. No more AV stuff. That was no longer me.
Nice to drop
and
that.
Oversaw that. What's that?
It must be nice to drop that.
Yeah, it was. It actually came in helpful a couple different times at Panduit. Because they actually acquired an AV company named Atlona, who, if you're familiar with Crestron at all,
yeah,
basically a Crestron competitor.
Okay.
And I got pulled into some things with that because they knew I had some AV backgrounds, but oversaw the global network. I think there were 10 manufacturing facilities somewhere around there, sites all over the globe, and just manage that network.
Wait, can I just go back to, sorry, when you said that they were considering other people at first for that position, but they didn't want to get physical with the hardware? Like, what does that mean? All joking aside, right? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they wanted someone who wasn't afraid to throw the ear protection and the steel toe boots on and go into the factory and put a switch in.
So that implies that people were refusing to do that work?
Yeah, they just wanted to tell the people to go what to do. They didn't want to do the work.
Yeah, I think that's kind of typical for an architect, right? Because, like, you know, if we've heard the comments from Tim, you know, he as a senior network engineer was still somebody that was doing the night shift, doing the maintenance windows, but he was looking to escalate or move up to an architect position where he could help drive the long-term plan and not do the maintenance windows.
Yep. I have a bit of a skewed view on it. I haven't done a whole lot of hardware handling. And so I want hardware experience, right? So it's a little backwards for me, but yeah.
And Lexi, you're kind of unique in that right now. And I think I fall into that as well, because when COVID hit, we tagged one person within our group and he was the on-site guy. So if we needed a cable plugged, we needed something done, it was that guy. And after about a year of that, I started to miss my babies. Like, I wanted to go hear the fans. I wanted to turn the screws. I get emotional about my networking. Yeah.
I missed you. Don't quit me.
It.
All right. So I have a question. You worked at Panduit. When you opened up the closets, your IDF and MDF closets and stuff like that, was it like, you know, like, I mean, pure gold, everything, and it had to be that way, right?
In some places, it definitely was. So at the headquarters location, so if you're ever in Chicago, you're driving around Chicago, if you're any of the listeners, you pass on 80, you'll see the 5-story glass building with the giant Panduit logo in front of it. That's world headquarters, and every closet in there is pristine.
Gotcha.
And it sort of serves as multifunction. It's, well, number one, it's our production data center. It's our production headquarters. But Panduit's very proud of their products and what can be done with them. So headquarters for a long period of time was the showcase as well. So if you wanted to see Panduit product in production, in work, you'd come over to the headquarters and they'd show you around the data center, and they still do those tours. They'd show you around the building so that you could see the product in work. There's a better customer, I think it's a customer experience center or something like that now, where it's no longer at headquarters, but I think people, prospective customers can still get a tour there if they want to. But on the manufacturing side, it was manufacturing. And I would say the challenges there were no different than most other places. So when a building gets built, maybe not everyone from IT is involved. Maybe you don't get a closet that's HVAC controlled. Maybe you've just got a 2-post rack sitting on a mezzanine in a manufacturing area, and that's all you got. So those areas, I mean, I don't think that's uncommon for a lot of places for IT not to get properly informed in the building selection. And I can't say that that was 100% of the time, because a lot of those buildings existed before I was born. But the manufacturing side was manufacturing. It was dirty.
Gotcha.
So did you have to, like, I don't know if you did any of the budgets or purchasing, but did you have to buy the Panduit stuff that you use for production, or was it just like, hey, I need some cables?
Buy is a funny word. We had a process by which we could acquire, internally order Panduit products.
Okay.
And that was actually the mandate, is if we were putting anything, we were doing anything data, if Panduit sold that product, you use that product.
Sure. That makes sense.
And that got so much to the point where after, I believe it was after an acquisition of a small office, they had 2 racks and they were non-Panduit racks.
Blasphemy. Were they StarTech or something?
No, I don't know. I think they might have been APC, but yeah, they had to get pulled out and replaced with Panduit rack. And some executive walked past and noted, nope, that's not Panduit stuff. Get it in. It's our stuff.
Yeah. Crazy.
So what were the lead times for that stuff?
Well, they were fine back then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for things without processors in it,
that's true. Yeah.
They were real fast. Yeah. Yeah. But lead times were generally pretty good, especially if you were at the warehouse.
Yeah.
So everything came to the warehouse.
All right. So if I understand correctly, Panduit was the last place that you worked before you jumped over to NS1.
That's correct.
All right. And you were at Panduit for about, 4-ish years. What was it that drew you to NS1?
So I've been familiar with NS1. I'd seen them out in the internet, but I didn't really get attracted to NS1 as much as I got attracted to the position within the Netbox team in NS1.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, if it was a bad company, if it seemed sketchy or it seemed like, well, there's no benefits, the pay's not good, or, any number of things that you would normally disqualify a job over,
sure,
or even applying for a place. Like, I'm not saying that I would have followed Netbox to a place that was like that, but because they went to a good founded company, that made sense. Like, hey, this position's open. This makes a lot of sense for me. I'm going to apply for it.
Nice. Okay.
And here you are.
And so you've been there for a couple of weeks. Tell us about the job. What are some of the things that you get to work on?
So right now, Netbox, if you're familiar with it, it's an open source project. It's not a packaged product that you can go pull off the shelf or order from CDW. It is and will remain an open source project. So at NS1, we're trying to build a SaaS model around it to help people with NetBox.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you don't want the hassle of running the software because you don't have Linux gurus on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can host that for you in the cloud and give you support for that. And that's where we're seeing a lot of interest, where the network engineering teams, they don't want to run the application. They just want to be network engineering teams. Yep. Yeah. So we're going to run the application. We're going to run that in Amazon for them.
Okay.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that's popular.
And
very neat.
Yeah, and it's still super early. Jeremy Stretch has been there since I think last April. There's a GM, Mark Coleman, over the project now, and NS1's investing pretty seriously into it. I don't know exactly how many people we're going to be hiring this year, but the team's building up to build around that product. And obviously, I can't name names, but I've been genuinely shocked by some of the big names that are using NetBox and are looking to offload the support. And it's not all big names. There's, even small 1-2 person shop that they don't want to handle the Linux side. They're looking to get some help with it too. So it's a pretty broad spectrum of people who are looking to use the product, but not manage the product.
Right.
What about the automation side of it? Like, are you guys going to be providing support for that as well? Or is it just handling the Linux side of it?
A lot of that's still being broken. We're trying to understand what everybody's needs are right now.
That's mine.
You know what Dan needs?
There is a place out there on the internet, and on the internet that I suspect you'll hear more from in a user story from us at some point. But they've got their automation down to the point where if a desktop technician goes into a room, they can look at a patch, a number on a data jack, go into the system and say, change the switch port that connects to this data jack to this VLAN through NetBox, through the automation plugins that are available.
That's incredible.
So they don't have to give them switch access. Yeah. They don't have to know the VLANs that are available they just have to know, user VLAN by name, and it does. NetBox is the source of truth that the automation relies upon to carry out that work.
That is incredible.
Yeah, love that.
I feel like that could be a little dangerous, though.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, as long as you don't put the ability to reboot a switch, or make sure that they only have good things that they can choose from, RBAC the hell out of it so that they don't have access to those commands.
Or don't mess with trunk uplinks or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the ways a technician could blow that up.
Oh, there's always, where there's a will, there's a way.
I was just about to say that.
Just user permissions. Easy.
User permissions.
Permissions.
That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, the automation's a big seller, but then there's people who aren't really tooled to do all the automation. They just want to have a good DSIM. They just want to have a good IPAM. They want to know where their routers and their switches are. Mm-hmm. They want to get out of spreadsheets and into something that's easier to use. Mm-hmm. So yeah, automation's a big part of it, but it's not automation for everyone.
Cool.
I can see that.
Yeah, we used to use NetBox.
What's it like?
Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
I had a previous position where we used NetBox, not for automation. I actually wasn't aware that was a feature, so that's pretty cool. But for, like you said, I think we stored vendor information in there. We stored everything. It was our single source of truth. And when I left, we were migrating everything. We weren't completely finished with getting it to that point, but it was definitely a very powerful tool, even being partially used. Right. So that's pretty neat.
Let's talk about that for a second. So Jordan, the way that it doesn't provide automation, you have your automation tool that uses like API calls to the NetBox, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I just wanted to be sure that was my understanding, but I wanted to check.
So, the main idea is source of truth. It's where you've got all the stuff and then you drive the stuff from there. So take like ServiceNow. ServiceNow has an ability to keep track of assets, but it has to discover them. So either ServiceNow is going to go do that on its own, and then you're going to get some basic inventory listings, or you can point ServiceNow at NetBox and it can learn your network devices from there. So you keep all your ticketing, your change management, all that stuff in ServiceNow. It just learns about the network devices from NetBox. Or if you're running Ansible and you want to say, hey, all the switches at this site, all right, point it at NetBox. So if you have DNA Center, let's say you're a pure Cisco shop and you've got the money and the willpower to pay Cisco for all those licenses, you can pretty much do all that stuff natively inside of DNA Center. But if you're multi-vendor, if you don't have the money to spend on all that, and you're willing to invest into more robust automation technologies, NetBox is a great place for all that data to live.
So it sounds like, Lexi, y'all were headed in that direction then. You were getting the info in there.
Now that I'm like realizing what automation is for the first time in my life, apparently, that does sound like the direction we were going. Because that's exactly, I think, what we were going to be using it for eventually was the ServiceNow pointing to NetBox in part, and some other things too. Yeah, because we also use ServiceNow, so it's all coming together in my brain.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, Jordan, I think it's a perfect role for you because you're very outward, you're very social, you're a great talker. I know tonight we caught you off guard and had a last minute request, and I know you feel like you've been fumbling a little bit. I think you're doing a great job. I wouldn't worry about it. So when you first told me about this opportunity, you love the product anyway. You're already a content creator. Match made in heaven. So, huge congratulations to you for landing the job. And, we'll definitely want to check back in with you here in, a couple months and see how it's going.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. The wildest thing happened while I was talking with a VAR rep of mine, and he kind of knew that I was looking to get out. And we just kind of started talking about NetBox off the cuff. He's like, well, what are you working on right now? And I explained it to him. He said, see, that's what you need. You need to find something that you love and go represent that. And it was before they were putting the team together. It was before the NS1 was doing the cloud project. And then as soon as it popped up, I was like, oh my God, it's real now. I could apply for that. I could really make that happen. And sure enough,
that's awesome.
Here we are.
Congrats.
That's great. Jordan, is there anything that we should have asked you that we didn't ask you?
I'm trying to remember back to my episode. Like what? I feel like I'm missing stories. I feel like I'm missing things.
Well, we got the fishnets in there, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I knew that had to make it back in because I told my mom about this. I said, hey, I'm doing this thing and I'm going to tell the story. And she's like, what happened?
No. She's trying to play that off. Oh man!
So I just genuinely think she didn't remember it. And then after I told her the story, she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. That was funny. That's funny. Yeah, that was funny, Mom." Things that you should have asked me. I don't know, AJ. See, now I just want to talk shop. Now that I've got my whole career side out of the way, now I want to talk shop. I want to gripe about ACI. I want to talk about the DNA licensing. I want to talk about how awesome the 9800 wireless platform is. I just want to ramp.
Right. Well, unfortunately, our time is coming to a close, but if you want to keep hanging with us and having a good time, you can go to patreon.com/artofneteng and join us.
Raise of the hand.
You, sir,
I'm raising my hand.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I do want to drop one more thing out there that I definitely remember talking about. Dan, I think you may have asked it. It was like anything that you could tell people who are coming up now. And obviously we're preaching to a bit of a choir here when we say find a good community, because all the way back to 2001-ish, when I first started my journey, there weren't communities. There weren't, I mean, everyone that I was going to school with then, they were old telco guys that were looking to understand this new networking thing that was coming up. So, find a community that works for you. I mean, hopefully it's this community, because coming up, not having that was hard. And I get envious of the people who are coming up today with the virtualization that you can do, how easy it is to get in touch with people, how easy it is to throw a question out there and get someone to help you out. So, to people coming up today, find a good community to stick with. And to this community and you guys, specifically, thank you for running this. I know there's a lot of lurkers in Discord and out on Twitter who never interact. They just listen to this. Thank you for running this for all of them, because it is truly amazing.
Wow. Jordan, thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate that. If you're not a member of our Discord, you can go back into your favorite podcatcher and scroll down to the bottom of the show notes. And there are a whole bunch of links related to the podcast. One of them is, of course, the It's All About the Journey Discord. And that's exactly the community that Jordan's talking about, where there are tons of people in there just like you, looking to break in, or maybe they're already in their career and they're willing to share their knowledge. So go on, click that link, create your crazy username that I will read when you win, post and winning, and join us and just have a bunch of fun.
Thanks for saying
Excellent.
that, Jordan.
Jordan, where can what's that, Lex?
Sorry, I just said thanks for saying that, Jordan.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
Jordan, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube under SystemMTU1. And you probably find me on Reddit and other places, but look for me a little bit more officially out of NS1's social channels. Once we start doing some fun stuff with NS1, I'm going to get to do some of this stuff kind of professionally. So Excellent. Look for that too.
Well, Jordan, if NS1 is ever looking to partner with a podcast, I think they could find a home here at the Art of Network Engineering.
Yeah. You got a recommendation?
I do. Yeah. Bring them on. Bring them on over.
Offline.
I'll send you the media kit.
I think I already have it.
Well, we updated our prices, so don't share that one.
You got it. Yeah, I'll throw that one out.
Old news. Awesome. All right. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us, and join us next week for another episode of the Art of Network Engineering podcast. Hey everyone, this is AJ. If you like what you heard today, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcatcher. Smash that bell icon to get notified of all of our future episodes. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Art of Net Eng. That's Art of NETENG. You can also find us on the web at artofnetworkengineering.com, where we post all of our show notes. You can read blog articles from the co-hosts and guests, and also a lot more news and info from the networking world. Thanks for listening.